Please bow your head and close your eyes as we say our national prayer. Mighty and eternal God, who through Jesus Christ has revealed your glory to all nations, please protect, preserve, and preserve Belize, our beloved country. God of might, wisdom, and justice, please assist our Belizean government and people with your Holy Spirit of counsel and fortitude. Let the light of your divine wisdom direct their plans and endeavors so that with your help we may attain just objectives. With your guidance, may all our endeavors tend to peace, social justice, liberty, national happiness, the increase of industries, sobriety, and useful knowledge. We pray, O God of mercy, for all of us that we may be blessed in the knowledge and sanctified in the observance of your most holy law, that we may be observed in union and in peace, which the world itself cannot give. And after enjoying the blessings of this life, please admit us, dear Lord, to the eternal reward that you have prepared for those who love you. Amen.
Announcements by the Speaker.
Good morning, Honorable Ministers. As we begin today's sitting, I wish to extend a warm welcome to all members of Parliament, to our esteemed guests in public galleries, to the invited guests seated in temporary galleries in the courtyard downstairs, and to all those joining us from home and abroad. Good morning and welcome. I welcome you all to today's sitting of the House of Representatives for the 5th Annual National Children's Parliament 2025. As we gather in the month of November, observed as Universal Children's Month and marking the launch of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, including the International Day to Eliminate Violence Against Women on November 25th, the themes of protection, dignity, and empowerment are especially reflected in today's proceedings. I am pleased to announce the submission and endorsement of the Adolescent Preventive Health Protection Bill 2025 by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The bill is now before in the House for consideration in accordance with established parliamentary procedure. Before we proceed, members, you are reminding of Standing Orders 37, 38, and 44 concerning interruptions, content of speeches, and order of the House. The official language of Parliament is English. A member on his or her feet may only be interrupted on a legitimate point of order. With that clearly stated, my ruling on any such point is final. Honorable members, I thank you for your cooperation.
Statement by Minister.
I recognize Honorable Minister of Human Development, Family Support, and Gender Affairs.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. I request to use my notes.
Proceed.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, honorable parliamentarians, and members of the House. Today, I rise to speak about an issue that affects every single one of us in this chamber, the issue of the recent child abuse and femicides in our country. These are not just headlines or statistics. These are real problems that our everyday citizens have to go through. In 2023, Belize had a total of 10 women murdered. According to the Belize Crime Observatory, from January 2024 to December 2024, there were a total of 1,277 domestic violence cases. This is a 2% increase from the year before. Keep in mind that over 95% of these cases were against females. and over half of that 95 was against minors under the age of 16. We are now in 2025, and just in the past month, up to October 24, 2025, 5 women have been killed in 20 days. This is unacceptable. Belize regionally was in 3rd place of Central America with the most highest femicide rates. At my young age, I have seen too many young lives taken too soon. Violence against women and children remains one of the most serious problems in Belize. Our femicide rate is among the highest in the region, and many cases of abuse go unreported because victims are afraid or do not trust in the system to protect them. We must strengthen our laws to clearly define and push gender-based violence. We have to create a system for children and women to receive support and educate families and communities so that violence is not seen as acceptable. Each of us has a role to play, whether we are leaders, teachers, parents, or young people. We all share the duty to protect the vulnerable. Let us build a Belize where every child feels safe and every woman can live free from fear. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Introduction of Bill.
I recognize Honorable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Madam Speaker, this is the Adolescents Preventive Health Protection Bill 2025. Madam Speaker, I rise to introduce a bill for an act to establish the right of adolescents to independently access preventive health services and information, to provide for informed consent and protection of confidentiality when accessing preventive health services, to require health practitioners to consider the Fraser Guidelines when assessing adolescents' competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in health facilities, and provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Madam Speaker, this bill has the recommendation of the Cabinet.
Honorable members, that bill is referred to Health and Human Development Committee for examination, consideration, and report.
Bill for an act to establish the right of adolescents to independently access preventive health services and information, to provide for informed consent and the protection of confidentiality when accessing preventive health services, to require health practitioners to consider the Fraser Guidelines when assessing adolescent competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in health facilities, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto.
I recognize the Honorable Minister for Health and Wellness.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order Number 49-1, I move that the bill be taken through all its stages forthwith.
Honorable members, the question is that the stages of the bill be taken forthwith. All those in favor kindly say aye. Aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Motions relating to the business or sittings of the House.
I recognize Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Investment, Economic Transformation, Civil Aviation, and E-Governance.
Madam Speaker, I move that at its rising today, the House adjourn to a date to be fixed by the Speaker.
Honorable members, the question is that the House at its rising today adjourn a date to be fixed by the Speaker. All those in favor kindly say aye. Aye. Those against kindly say no. I guess the ayes have it.
Announcement by the Speaker.
Honorable members, it has been agreed that the Adolescent Preventive Health Protection Bill 2025 pass this day. As you may be aware, under Standing Order Number 74, all proposed legislation, messages, petitions, motions, and other matters relating to the subject mentioned under relating to the subject mentioned under the title of each standing committee shall be referred by the House to such committee for examination, consideration, and report to the House. For this to be done, other than by suspension of standing orders, is for me to suspend the sitting. Standing orders is for me to suspend the sitting to enable the Health and Human Development Committee to examine, consider, and report to the House on this bill. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I guess the ayes have it. This sitting is therefore suspended until the Health and Human Development Committee concluded its business.
Health Service to require health practitioners to consider the Fraser Guidelines when assessing adolescents' competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in health facilities, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, I rise today with great pride and a deep sense of responsibility as the youth parliamentarian for Orange Walk East to address this honorable house on an issue that strikes at the heart of our nation's future: the right of adolescents in Belize to access preventive health services. Madam Speaker, imagine being a teenager who feels unwell but cannot see a doctor because a parent or guardian is not around. For many young people, it is not imagination, it is reality. Preventive health care is not just about treating illness, it's about empowerment. It gives our youth the confidence, knowledge, and freedom to take charge of their own health. Adolescence is a critical and vulnerable stage, yet many young people stay silent due to fear, stigma, or lack of confidential care. The Ministry of Health and Wellness reports that adolescents under 19 account for nearly 16% of all mental health cases. Yet, structured youth screening programs remain limited. Madam Speaker, allowing our youths to access counselors without parental consent can let them seek the support they need before reaching crisis. We must also face the facts, Madam Speaker. The United Nations reports that 11% of girls aged 15 to 19 are already mothers. Often, parental consent requirements often restrict the access to reproductive health services like contraception and STI testing that protect rather than promote sexual activity. UNICEF's Adolescent Health Strategic Plan calls for confidential youth-friendly care as a national priority, a call we must answer. Madam Speaker, the need goes beyond reproductive or mental health. More teens are facing obesity and non-communicable diseases. Many go undetected because they cannot access routine checkups on their own. This is a matter of health equity and human rights. Every adolescent, regardless of where they live or who is available to accompany them, should be able to access preventive health care. Madam Speaker, giving our adolescents access to preventive health care, medical, mental, and sexual, gives them the foundation for a healthy life. When we empower our youths to care for themselves, we build stronger families, stronger communities, and a stronger Belize. Madam Speaker, I urge the support of this honorable house for this landmark legislation. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Good morning. Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to speak on the proposed bill to grant adolescents independent access to preventive health service. Let me be clear. From the outset, the principle of ensuring our young people have better access to health service is one that, in theory, every member on this side of the House can support. The health of our future generation is paramount. However, Madam Speaker, while we commend this honorable House for tackling the issue of the gap between those with the age of consent and access to preventive care, we must scrutinize the methods proposed in this draft bill. A closer look reveals a potentially damaging disregard for the role of the family and significant legal obscurity that will create chaos and not clarity. This bill, in its current form, is a step too far, too fast, and on a too shaky legal foundation. It attempts to grant adolescents aged 14 and older the right to vast range of services, including vaccination, mental health screening, counseling, and comprehensive reproductive and sexual health service, all without parental consent. This bill only allows for disclosure in limited circumstances, such as immediate risk of harm or diagnosis of a life-threatening condition. Tell me, why should a life-threatening condition be the only trigger for involving a parent? We are asking parents to trust the healthcare system to take over one of their most sacred duties. And that, Madam Speaker, is simply unacceptable. We are importing a concept akin to the Fraser Guidelines from the United Kingdom and mature and minor doctrine from countries like Canada. But we are applying it to a broader suite of services. We are just not applying it to reproductive health, but routine checkups and vaccination. We are asking a general practitioner or nurse to make a complex, subjective, legal, and psychological judgment on the spot. What clinical guidance is being provided? How will this assessment be standardized? The bill simply says providers must explain benefits and risks in language appropriate to the adolescents. This level of ambiguity will lead to inconsistency and liability nightmares for our healthcare professionals. This bill, as draft, is not an answer. It's a problem disguised as a solution. It threatens the family, it compromises clinical practice, and it fails to establish a clear legal framework. We urge the government to withdraw this bill, consult meaningfully with families, and return to this House with a piece of legislation that protects our adolescents without destroying the rights of their parents. I thank you.
I recognize Honorable Prime Minister.
Good day, Madam Speaker, honorable members, media, and present guests. Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes?
See.
Madam Speaker, today I rise not only as Prime Minister and as a representative for Orange Walk Central, but as a voice for every young Belizean whose future depends on timely, respectful, and confidential access to health care. This bill marks a bold shift in how we treat adolescents here in Belize. According to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, a child is anyone under the age of 18. This is also echoed in our Belizean Constitution, which guarantees every person the right to life, dignity, and privacy. Section 14 protects each individual from arbitrary interference with their privacy, family, and homes. This includes adolescents seeking help. We must admit that parenting is in fact challenging. Many parents often work long hours, or some of them often juggle multiple jobs. And in impoverished communities and some deeply religious households, topics like sexual health and mental health are often considered taboo, leaving these young adolescents without spaces to voice their opinions and concern. As leaders, we must recognize that silence and shame are not strategies for protection. This bill will allow adolescents to seek preventive health services like mental health support, reproductive education, and screening without needing parental consent. It does not aim to exclude parents, but it is aimed to protect those children, those adolescents, whose home environment may not support their needs. According to the National Adolescent Health Strategic Plan 2019 to 2030, developed by the Ministry of Health and Wellness with support of UNICEF and PAHO, adolescents aged 10 to 19 makes up approximately 20% of Belize's population. That is approximately 90,000 young Belizeans whose future is in our hands. Their health shouldn't be a side issue because it is a national priority. This bill is not about encouraging risky behavior. It's about protecting those adolescents who are already facing real-life risk. Imagine a teenage girl quietly crying from pelvic pain at her desk, but she can't do anything about it because she knows that her parents wouldn't allow her to see a doctor. No, that silence is not protection. It is only suffering. And I mean, some might fear that removing consent might encourage recklessness, but let us ask this House. Is ignorance safer than education? Is silence more protective than access? Denying contraception and STI testing does not decrease the dangers. It does not decrease the rising chance of STIs and teenage pregnancy. It only increases the danger that might come with it. We are not alone in this movement. Grenada, for instance, recently amended its laws to allow adolescents as young as 14-year-old to consensual and reproductive health services. Belize as a nation must not fall behind. We must lead with clarity and dignity without hesitation. The UNFPA policy debriefing entitled Empowering Young Belizean, Eliminating Legal Barriers That Limit Access, developed by Belizean Authority, confirmed that legal and social barriers fuel the rates of adolescents' pregnancy, HIVs, and STIs. These outcomes are in fact preventable, but only if we act swift as a nation. Yes, safeguards are essential. This bill must set clear age limits, ensure counseling, and provide protocols to these health care. We cannot hold autonomy while ensuring responsible care. So I ask this House, are we prepared to legislate not just for comfort, but for courage, not just for tradition, but for a genuine transformation with our adolescents? Let us pass this bill not to diminish parental roles, but to lighten their burden, not to encourage recklessness, but to empower responsibility, not to divide families, but to protect children who are the futures of Belize. Let us be bold, let us be Belizeans, and let us make a bold shift with this decision. Thank you.
I recognize the Honorable Member for Lake Independence.
Good morning, everyone. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Madam Speaker and honorable members, today I stand to support the bill granting adolescents 14 and above independent access to preventive health services. This is not about removing parents from their children's lives. This is about ensuring that young people, especially those without guidance or support at home, have a safe path when they need it. Madam Speaker, in Lake Independence alone, we have over 800 adolescents as of 2022. Many live in environments marked by violence, poverty, and neglect. Some face abuse from the very adults meant to protect them. Too often, these young people are left without access to doctors, counselors, social workers, and preventive care simply because an adult is absent, unwilling, or unsafe to rely on. Madam Speaker, the United Nations defines adolescents as 10 to 19. Belize has roughly 97,000 in this age group, about 20% of our population. Yet, we see high teenage pregnancy rates, limited sexual health education, rising mental health challenges, and far too many cases where young people are pressured, groomed, or abused without any safe adult to turn to. In some rural regions, adolescent birth rates reach 90 per 1,000, nearly double urban areas. UNICEF Belize Strategy for Adolescent Development and Participation in Belize 2024 to 2026. These are not just numbers and statistics. These are young lives shaped by fear, trauma, and lost opportunity. This bill ensures access to annual checkups, immunizations, mental health support, reproductive health services, substance use prevention, and referrals to specialized care without needing parental consent. This bill does not seek to shut parents out, but rather, this bill ensures that adolescents has a choice and a safe option when the family support system fails. Madam Speaker, adolescents are the future of Belize. Giving them access to preventive health care is giving Belize a safer, stronger, and more prepared generation. By passing this bill, we are investing in the well-being and in the future of our nation. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Corozal North.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. May I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, honorable members of this honorable House, I rise today to firmly oppose this bill that seeks to grant adolescents as young as 14 preventative health services without parental consent. While well-intentioned, I cannot support legislation that undermines family and parental responsibility. In Corozal North, our strength lies in our families. Parents are not barriers to health. They are guides, protectors, and moral anchors. Removing parents from preventative health discussions weakens that parent-child bond. This bill assumes that every 14-year-old is ready to make personal health decisions alone. How can we expect them to fully understand their options without parental guidance? UNICEF Belize 2024 reports adolescents make up 20% of our population. Yet, access to adolescent-centered care is limited. PAHO 2023 shows only 26 clinicians nationwide are trained in adolescent care. In Corozal North, clinics are few, staff are limited, and youth-friendly services are scarce. The Corozal Community Hospital serves over 45,000 residents, with just a handful of doctors and nurses. If we cannot provide quality care for families, how can we promise confidential care to minors? The government cites trends from Grenada and Chile, but Belize must lead with Belizean values. Yet, Madam Speaker, this government keeps following when it should be leading. We keep hearing promises of progress, but all we get is recycled ideas and empty words. We cannot keep electing leaders who mistake motion for direction and who call outdated thinking vision. Belize deserves better. Leaders who stand up for families, not ones who copy and paste policies that tear them apart. So on behalf of families from Pachacan to Consejo, from Chanchen to Calcutta, I stand firmly against this bill to protect our children, preserve our values, and keep families at the heart of every decision. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Freetown.
Good day, Madam Speaker, audience in the gallery, and fellow members of the House. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I want to take a moment to invite you all to envision and recollect what you see when you look around the streets of Belize. From Corozal to Toledo, from the bustling city streets to the quiet villages, what do you see? You see our young children growing up too fast. Teenagers, barely 14, facing adult-sized challenges, responsibilities, and decisions, often without the proper guidance. When we fail to guide them, the consequences are clear. Teenage pregnancies are climbing, school desks left empty, dreams are cut short, and potential lost before it even blooms. How can Belize prosper if our youth carry burdens they are not ready for? And it is not only our girls. Our boys are struggling too. There is strong evidence that mental health challenges are serious among Belizean adolescents, and that suicide mortality is disproportionately higher in males. They are less likely to seek help and more likely to suffer in silence. Imagine a 16-year-old boy suddenly being told he will be a father, confused, frightened, and ashamed with nowhere to turn. Passing this bill gives adolescents aged 14 and older independent access to preventative health care, mental health support, annual checkups, vaccination, and credible, confidential information. If young people cannot trust the system, they won't reach out. And if they don't, it puts our nation at risk of broken families, interrupted education, and a generation unprepared to carry Belize forward. To the opposition, I ask, how many young girls must trade classrooms for strollers? How many boys must pretend to be men before they can truly grow? This bill is not political business. It is a moral obligation. It tells every adolescent in Belize, we see you, we believe in you, and we are choosing to build a Belize where you can grow, succeed, and not only survive, but thrive. Let us choose hope, humanity, and a future worthy of our children. Let us create a Belize that is not just a house, but a home. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize Honorable Member for Collett.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Speaker. May I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Good day, Madam Speaker and esteemed members of the National Assembly. I rise today as a representative of the Collect constituency to present and address the Adolescent Health Bill. First, let me commend the intent of this bill to improve adolescent health and provide early access to preventative services. And I fully support its goal of promoting well-being and early intervention. However, Madam Speaker, there are sections that require careful consideration, particularly Section 4, which allows adolescents aged 14 and older to provide independent consent for medical services. While promoting freedom, surveillance, and early prevention is important, we must recognize that adolescents may not understand the real risk or long-term effects of these medical procedures. When promoting and parental involvement is removed too soon, adolescents often end up confused and unsupported, facing adult decisions without adult understanding. And while it is true that some youths may feel uncomfortable discussing with their parents sensitive matters, parental involvement remains essential. Remove it completely could leave youth people feeling isolated, facing medical decisions without support or guidance. We must also remember, Madam Speaker, that what works abroad may not work in Belize. Our culture and family structures are unique. Other countries that allow independent consent often include partial parental involvement. Safeguard this bill in its current state lacks. Madam Speaker, imagine a case where a minor has to suffer medical complications alone because their parents weren't informed or allowed to help. What was meant to empower them instead left them alone, confused, and at risk. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, parents are not barriers but partners in protecting their children's health and well-being. I remain committed to improving adolescent health, and with thoughtful amendments and proper safeguards, this bill can strike the right balance, empowering young people while preserving the protective role of parents. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize Honorable Member for Orange Walk South.
Madam Speaker, honorable members, good morning. Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I rise today to affirm one powerful truth. Every young person deserves the right to protect their own health. The Adolescent Preventative Health Access Bill provides ages 14 and above the responsibility to make the choice to access preventative health, medical checkups, counseling, and accurate health information confidently and safely. This bill is not about removing parents, it's about balance. It keeps parents involved in the major medical process, but allows teenagers to seek early health care before problems get serious. That trust encourages responsibility, not rebellion. Madam Speaker, this bill gives life to the Adolescent Health National Strategy Plan 2019 to 2030 that envisions a better Belize where every adolescent has the right to youth-friendly, confidential, and fair health care. This plan highlights three main goals: expanding adolescent-friendly services, improving mental, physical, and reproductive health, and building laws that safeguards the life and rights of our children. By passing this bill, we move from vision to action. We create a health system that listens to our youth, respects their privacy, promotes early prevention rather than late stages of crisis. Countries such as Canada, Grenada, and United Kingdom have seen many benefits from this. Fewer untreated illnesses, fewer teenagers' pregnancy, and stronger trust between youth and healthcare providers. Therefore, I call upon this honorable House to stand firmly with our youth to uphold their right to health, to equity, to dignity. Let us act with wisdom and courage to secure a healthier, fairer, and future Belize of our nation. I stand I stand proudly in support of this bill. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Mesopotamia.
Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, honorable members, I rise today with respect for what this bill seeks to achieve. Its heart is in the right place, giving young people better access to overall health care. However, good intentions alone do not guarantee good outcomes. As written, this bill gives full medical consent to 14-year-olds without clear rules, proper guidance, or the support systems that make consent meaningful in the first place. That is not empowerment. That is exposure. It risks confusion for families, pressure for Belizean clinics, and uncertainty for the very teens we want to protect. We can do better, and we can do it together. Raise the age of access from 14 to 16, as that is already the age of consent here in our country of Belize. For younger teens, allow access through a clear maturity assessment that is fair, consistent, and conducted by trained professionals, so we can make sure that they have the maturity level to go through these procedures in the first place. Define the process, document the decision, and make it accountable. Now, a law without funding is simply just words on a paper. It's just simply pointless if we do not give a proper guidance of what we should do in the first place. We must fund them and train for them, pilot the approach, learn from it, and expand it when it proves safe, effective, and trusted. Now, do not get me wrong. Do not get me wrong at all. This is not an attempt to block this change. It is a call to action. It is a call to build trust. Protect our youth while keeping families part of the solution. That is responsible leadership. That is real progress. And as God as my witness, let us get this right for our beautiful country of Belize. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize Honorable Member for Kyle South.
Madam Speaker, distinguished colleagues, good morning. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I rise today in full support to the bill to grant adolescents aged 14 and above independent access to preventative health care services. This is not just a mere health reform. This is an act of compassion and dignity. The strength of our nation lies not only in the bridges and roads that we build, but in the youths that will one day cross them. Too many adolescents are being turned away from hospitals just because they lack parental consent. Imagine a 14-year-old finally getting the courage to get up and talk about what they're feeling. They go to the hospital and are rejected with a question, "Where are your parents?" They leave with their future hanging with uncertainty. This bill ensures that no young life is left waiting in silence. It does not exclude the parents. It simply ensures that when a child needs to access protective health, preventative health, and professional care, they can do so with dignity and their pride. Preventative care, vaccines, screenings, counseling, injections, these are the foundation for a healthier and stronger Belize. We need to remember this. Confidentiality is respected. With safeguards for abuse, we can protect our communities.
Countries like Grenada, Chile, Venezuela have already passed similar laws. Belize is not acting alone. We are simply catching up. Belize is joining a regional movement towards youth-friendly preventative health care. As someone who often speaks about physical infrastructure, I believe that this bill brings a different type of infrastructure, a social one, in which we fight for the compassion and the love of our youths. Let us give them the tools and the trust that they deserve to be able to bring our country into a better state. Let us give them our love. Today, I urge all of you to please think about our youths. Build a Belize where every person in this country can thrive and not just survive. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Stan Creek West. I recognize Honorable Member for Kyle Northeast.
Madam Speaker, honorable members, good morning. I rise today to address a matter that affects the very heart of Belize's future, our young people and their health. If you are not healthy or educated, what will become of you? Can anyone perform their best while being unhealthy? Many adults hide vital information about adolescents, claiming that we aren't ready, yet when we make mistakes, they get upset. They forget they once made mistakes too. The Adolescent Preventive Health Protection Bill aims to promote equality, growth, and stability. Some parents avoid topics like reproductive health, leaving youth ashamed and misinformed. Clinic programs can change this by creating safe spaces where teens feel respected. Give teens access to health care and information. The Statistical Institute of Belize says that 2.1% of Belizeans never finish primary school. Without health and education, success is impossible. Healthy youth are more likely to stay in school and find stable jobs. Again, give teens access to health care and information. Prevention is better than cure. Without this, they won't just lose hope, they'll lose the ability to build a better Belize. Now, mental health is no longer taboo. Many youth struggle while parents dismiss their pain. Health programs can teach empathy, reduce violence, and help us process trauma. Recognizing mental health early won't just allow for positive school and community engagement, it will allow for a better Belize. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, the Preventative Adolescent Health Protection Bill won't just teach youth to stand up for themselves, it will shape a healthier Belize. This generation is our future. What will happen if that future is unhealthy? Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Stan Creek West.
Hello. Okay. Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, honorable members, media, and distinguished guests. Today, I stand against the proposal to allow adolescents access preventive health care without parental consent. While the goal may be to promote adolescent autonomy, this policy creates more risks than benefits. At 14, teens are still developing both mentally and emotionally. Research shows the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and impulse control, does not fully develop until the mid-20s. Therefore, expecting young teens to make medical decisions is unrealistic. They may not understand the long-term consequences, risks, or side effects. Parents offer wisdom and guidance needed for responsible choices. Excluding parents from their child's medical care undermines the family's trust and could lead to miscommunication or harmful outcomes. Parents are not obstacles, they are protectors and advocates. They need to be informed about the conditions and treatments for their children so they can provide care, emotional support, and follow-up when necessary. Moreover, this policy places healthcare providers in difficult ethical and legal positions. If a minor consents to a treatment or something goes wrong, who is responsible? Such uncertainty could compromise both the safety of the adolescent and professional integrity of the provider. In conclusion, while improving adolescent access to healthcare is important, granting full independence is premature. Teens need guidance, not secrecy. Partnership, not isolation. Together, let's strengthen communication between families and health professionals to ensure young people stay healthy with their parents by their sides. Thank you.
I recognize the Honorable Member for Toledo East.
Good day, Madam Speaker, honorable members, and fellow citizens of Belize. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
It is with great pride and purpose that I rise today on behalf of the beautiful people of Toledo East, the chocolate capital of Belize, to express our full and unwavering support for the Adolescent Health Protection Bill. To begin with, this bill boldly closes the long-standing gap between the age of consent and access to preventive health care, ensuring that adolescents 14 and older can access preventive health services such as checkup, vaccinations, counseling, and reproductive care without facing unnecessary barriers. For too long, our young Belizeans have been denied the right to make informed decisions about their own health. This bill is about protection, prevention, and empowerment. By allowing our youth to access early screening, counseling, and education, it strengthens early detection and intervention, both physically and mentally, while ensuring that any abuse, exploitation, or serious risk is reported. And yes, most may argue that parental consent should always be required. But let us speak honestly here. Not every home is a safe space. For many adolescents, this bill could mean the difference between early help and lasting harm. This bill also aligns with Belize's national commitments, including the Adolescent Health National Strategic Plan from 2019 to 2030, and regional frameworks such as the PAHO Caribbean Roadmap for Adolescent and Youth Health. It reflects evidence-based practices already seen in several Latin American and Caribbean countries, whereby granting adolescents access to preventive services has led to improved health outcomes and reduced public health risk. By passing this bill, Belize joins regional leaders in protecting the youth's health, right, and dignity. And yes, Madam Speaker, no law is ever perfect, but what matters is action, and we can overcome any challenge and not use them as excuses. In closing, as the area representative for my beautiful people of Toledo East, I proudly stand in full support of this motion and its effective execution. Together, let us ensure that every adolescent in Belize receives the care and knowledge they rightfully deserve. This bill is not just good policy, it is a moral duty and a vital investment in our nation's future. Long live Belize. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Orange Walk North.
Honorable Speaker, members of the House, and young people across Belize. Madam Speaker, may I reference my notes?
Proceed.
Once again, we are here because the government has neglected to do their job and now are pretending to care. Today, they bring a bill that allows adolescents 14 and older to access preventive health services without parental consent. And suddenly, they act like heroes. Suddenly, they act like they discovered that children need help. But where were they before the tragedies? Where were they when the students at Holy Redeemer Primary begged for mental health support after rise in bullying and depression cases last year? But where were they when the teenagers in San Pedro suffered in silence after gang violence left families broken? Belize has been losing children every year to violence, abuse, STIs, and depression because they have nowhere safe to go. And now the same government that neglected them wants applause for a bill that is incomplete, underfunded, and unplanned. Even now, this bill has no guarantee of confidentiality, no youth-friendly clinics, and no trained staff. Also, no budget. So what exactly is the government offering? A right with no access, a law with no protection, a promise with no plan. This is what the government always does. They wait until something becomes a crisis, then rush to pass a law so they can look good in the headlines. But young people don't care about the headlines, they care about real services. So yes, I, Orange Rock North area representative, support the idea behind this bill, but we refuse to rubber stamp an empty political showpiece. If the government is serious, then show the money, show the clinics, show the training, and show the plan. Until then, Belize youth do not need another speech. They need real action. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Toledo West.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and Honorable Representatives of the House. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
As the representative for Toledo West, I stand proudly in support of this bill that grants adolescents aged 14 and older the right to access vital preventative health services, vaccinations, mental health care, and reproductive health care without needing parental consent. To me, this bill is about trust, dignity, and hope. Too often, our young people stay silent when they need help most, fearing judgment or lack of the support that they rightfully deserve. This is especially true for the youth of the rural areas of my constituency, in places such as San Pedro, Colombia, and Halacte, where they face many barriers that include cultural stigma and limited access to education. By passing this bill, we are giving them the voice and the power to take charge of their own health and future. Believe me, our youth are capable, responsible, and deserving of respect. This legislation ensures that they can make informed decisions regarding their own health, protecting it while also strengthening their families and communities. In short, this bill is more than just a policy. It is a promise that we believe in them. Additionally, this bill follows proven modules from countries all around the world, in places like Canada, the United States, and the United Kingdom, where similar laws have saved lives, improved access, and protected confidentiality. Belize can and should do the same. If we pass this bill, we will see real change. Adolescents will receive health care early. They will receive mental health support early, and they will seek care safely and privately. This means healthier communities, fewer illnesses, and a generation of young people who feel empowered and valued. Madam Speaker, no bill is perfect, but this one is responsible and ethical. It includes safeguards so that medical professionals ensure that the adolescent truly understands what they are being told before giving consent. It is compassionate, thoughtful, and fair. In closing, Madam Speaker, this bill is our chance to shape a stronger, healthier, and more equal Belize. Let us stand with our youth, break down the barriers that they face, and create a future where every young person can access care without fear or shame. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Belize Rural North.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, honorable members, and guests. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to present the Adolescent Health Act, a bill designed to grant adolescents 14 years of age and older the right to independently access essential preventative health care services. Health is not a privilege, it is a human right. Yet, too many young Belizeans face barriers when seeking services. Fear, stigma, and the need for parental consent often stop them from getting help. These barriers do not protect our youth, they endanger them. In Belize Rural North, we have 23 communities which are served by 4 centers. These centers are in Crooked Tree, Mascal, Doublehead Cabbage, and Burrell Boom. Having these health centers providing reproductive health services would be an asset. Now,
If a young girl from Moscow who is sexually active and needs contraceptives, she can visit the health clinic in her community instead of traveling to Belize City. I would like to see this bill go through so that my communities would have continuous access to health care. The Adolescent Health Act will ensure that youth can safely access HIV testing and counseling, reproductive and mental health services, and regular medical checkups, all in a confidential and supportive youth-friendly environment. Healthcare providers will be trained to guide adolescents respectfully and responsibly. Madam Speaker, this bill is about more than health. It is about hope and opportunity. When our youth are healthy, they can remain in school, chase their dreams, and contribute to Belize's progress. By passing this act, we affirm our duty to protect and empower the next generation, ensuring no young Belizean loses their potential to silence stigma and neglect. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize Honorable Member for Queens Square.
Good day, Madam Speaker, honorable members. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I want to make it clear that I genuinely support this bill. We all want our young people to be happy, healthy, and safe. The goal that no teenager faces a health crisis alone is one I wholeheartedly support. Madam Speaker, but as someone who thinks about how our systems actually work for our people, I have a real concern. This bill feels like we're giving a young person, a keys to a car without first ensuring they have the proper training or understanding of the journey ahead. Granting a 14-year-old legal right to healthcare is one thing, but are clinics truly ready for them? If not, we're setting both our clinics and our young people up for a unsuccessful and stressful experience. So I have a few humble suggestions to make this bill stronger. First, let's pair this new right with a promise. Let's amend the bill to include plan and funding to train our healthcare workers in adolescent-friendly communication. Second, let's add a layer of support. Let's task the ministry with creating clear and simple resources that explain these new rights and encourage young people to bring an adult when they feel safe to do so. We should build bridges for our families, not walls. Finally, Madam Speaker, let's ensure that this isn't an unfunded mandate. Our clinics must have the private spaces and staff to make this bill into practice. This bill has the right destination. Let's work together that we ensure our young people, the journey is safe and successful for all our young people. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize Honorable Member for Belmopan.
Madam Speaker, Honorable Member of this Youth Parliament. Good morning, Madam Speaker. May I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I rise in strong support of the Adolescent Preventative Health Access Bill, which empower young people ages 14 and older to access preventative health service independently. Madam Speaker, this bill is about trust. It's about trusting that young people can make responsible decisions about our health, to seek information, to act before problems become escalate. Too often, young people stay silent, afraid, or ashamed. Some avoid clinic because they fear judgment or dismissal. This bill changed that. It allows us to get checkup, vaccination, counseling, healing, and health advice confidentially, respectfully, and without unnecessary barriers. This is not about excluding parents. It's about helping young people step up while still valuing family involvement, considering the reality of Belizean families. Think about a 15-year-old who family travel for work outside their district for long hours and some days. Young person may need timely health advice, a mental health screening, or even simple preventative care. Under this bill, they can access those services independently, but it also encourages them to involve their parents whenever it is a safe and possible way. It protects us privately, but it does not push away families. Instead, it supports their health, communication, safety, decision, and strong relationship. This bill recognizes that if a young person understands medical service, purpose, benefit, and risk, they should be allowed to consent. That's maturity, that's responsibility. It focuses solely on preventative care. It also protects while ensuring that anyone in danger receives timely help. This will mean early dismissal, fewer untreated illness, and empowers informed youths who have the confidence to take care of their well-being. So today I call on my fellow parliaments, let us trust in young people, support this bill, and invest in our future, because when young people are healthy, Belize is healthier. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize Honorable Member for Pickstock.
Madam Speaker, and esteemed members of the National Assembly, good morning. Madam Speaker, I rise with my colleagues to discuss a vital piece of legislation, the bill to grant adolescents ages 14 and older independent access to preventive health services. This bill seeks to establish the legal right for our youth to access the necessary health services without the requirement of parental consent. The need for this bill is underscored by alarming statistics from a 2021 UN study conducted in Belize. Among our adolescent girls ages 15 to 19, 11% have already experienced pregnancy. This statistic not only reflects the high rate of pregnancy, but also highlights the urgent need for accessible reproductive health information and services. Madam Speaker, this study also shows that a staggering 96% of individuals diagnosed with sexually transmitted infections are between the ages of 15 to 19. Madam Speaker, 96! Highlighting the serious health risk of early sexual activity. Additionally, 1 in every 20 females between the ages of 15 to 24 has engaged in early sexual intercourse before the age of 15, indicating a concerning trend within this demographic. Madam Speaker, the time has come for Belize to join the ranks of progressive nations such as the United Kingdom, Canada, the United States, and others in ensuring adolescents have access to preventive, reproductive, and sexual health services. Madam Speaker, by enacting this bill, we will improve early detection and intervention for health issues. By ensuring youth have access to mental health screenings, counseling, and education on reproductive health, including contraceptions and STI testing. In closing, Madam Speaker, as the area representative for the Pickstock Division, and Minister responsible for youth, I support this bill as it aligns with international standards, including the Convention on the Rights of the Child. It emphasizes adolescents' rights to health, information, and privacy, affirming their autonomy in making informed health decisions. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and everyone.
I recognize Honorable Member for Belize Rural South.
Greetings, Madam Speaker and honorable members of the House. Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I rise today on behalf of the people of Belize Rural South to address this proposal regarding independent access to preventive health services for adolescents as young as 14 years of age. While I wholeheartedly support the goal of strengthening adolescent health care in Belize, I must express my reservations about granting this privilege to individuals at such a formative age. Scientific evidence demonstrates that adolescents are still undergoing significant neurological changes, particularly in the prefrontal cortex, which governs decision-making and impulse control. Researcher Thomas Armstrong in The Power of the Adolescent Brain 2016 surmises that this area doesn't fully mature until the early to mid-20s, leading adolescents to make decisions based solely on emotional influences and impulses. Additional studies also highlight our adolescents' inability to regulate emotional impulses and make sound judgments. These findings raise real concerns about their ability to understand risk and provide informed consent for sensitive health decisions such as mental and reproductive health. Belize's 2022 SIB population and housing census shows a sizable youth population, and policies that remove parental involvement for such a significant demographic could lead to ethical challenges for families, schools, and healthcare providers, particularly in communities where intergenerational trust and communication is crucial. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, while it is essential to ensure adolescents have access to youth-friendly and confidential care, we must carefully balance autonomy with protection, and rather than lowering the age of independent consent to 14, we should focus on strengthening parental communication and guided consent processes so that our youth are supported in decision-making, rather than being left to navigate these complex decisions alone. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize Honorable Member for Corozal Southwest.
Madam Speaker, honorable members of the House. Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I rise to address the bill granting adolescent age 14 and older independent access to preventative health services. Let me begin by saying I fully support the intent behind this bill. We all share the goal of improving access to health care for our young people. Adolescents deserve services that protects their well-being and fosters trust in the healthcare system. At its heart, this bill advances Belize's commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals, such as SDG 3, Good Health and Well-being, SDG 4, Quality Education, SDG 5, Gender Equality, SDG 10, Reduce Inequalities, SDG 16, Strong Intuitions, by ensuring fairness, inclusion, and accountability in adolescent health care. However, while I support the bill's objectives, I have serious concerns about its current form. Unless these issues are properly addressed, the bill risks doing more harm than good to the families, healthcare providers, and even to the very adolescent it aims to serve. Our laws consistently recognizes that persons under 18 lack full capacity to make major decisions, such as marrying, voting, or even entering contracts. Yet this bill creates an exception for healthcare decisions without explaining why medical choices should be treated differently. If maturity is the basis of age restrictions in other areas, the same reason should apply here. The bill needs a clear justification and a better defined safeguard before such an exception is created. This bill effectively sidelines parents while they still bear full legal and financial responsibility for their children. Parents know their children best and often their strongest advocates. Removing them from key health decisions may damage the very relationship that keeps adolescents safe and supported. We can protect young adolescents without excluding parents entirely. Madam Speaker, there are balanced ways to achieve these same goals. I recommend expanding comprehensive health education for adolescents and their parents and establishing adolescent-friendly clinics that encourage confidentiality but maintain family partnerships. These reforms will strengthen adolescent health services without undermining parental trust or professional integrity. Madam Speaker, I support the intent behind this bill, but not its execution. It is legally uncertain, operationally weak, and practically unready. Without thoughtful revision, consultation, and proper safeguards, it could evolve into a legislation that generally improves access and care for this youth. Until then, I urge this Honorable Chamber to defer this passage, refine the bill, and bring forward a version that balances adolescents' right and parental responsibility and system readiness. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize Honorable Member for Fort George.
Good day, Madam Speaker, members of the House, and invited guests. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
This morning, in fact, right now, if my 14-year-old child who required medical attention tried to reach me, he would be unable to. Why? Well, I'm here. I am working, as many parents are right now. Why should he suffer rather than be able to consent to his own medical treatment? If adolescents can legally work from the age of 14, why can they not legally access their own health care? Internationally, places like Grenada have lowered their own age of civil responsibility from 18 to 17, acknowledging that maturity is not based solely on your age. Informed decisions are not based solely on your age. Grenada is the Caribbean. Due to our cultural similarities, I can be sure that the implementation of this bill will be beneficial to our Belizean youth. Your concerns for their access to reproductive health are valid, but data from the US shows that STIs and teen pregnancies have significantly reduced once their adolescents were granted access to such a bill. Concerns about different things, like I said, are valid, but we cannot control adolescents' decisions or choices. Whether our age of consent remains at 16 or not, there are the few adolescents that will still be sexually active before then. What are we to do about them? We can't disregard them. We must not disregard them. Instead, we should acknowledge and support them in this policy age gap. Madam Speaker, like my people of Fort George say, let us blaze our fire. My fellow parliamentarians, please implement this bill so that we can light our adolescents' torches. This is our action. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Dangriga.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and honorable members of the House. Madam Speaker, may I use my notes?
Proceed.
Today, I rise not in full endorsement of the Adolescent Health Access Bill, but in support of parts of its purpose and in opposition to some of its present ideas. I see the bill's goal, to grant adolescents aged 14 and above independent access to preventative health care, and I completely understand the importance of enabling youths to make responsible decisions about their health. This vision conforms to Belize's duty to protect our children. But Madam Speaker, while I understand the bill's intent, I cannot fully support it as it stands. This bill places a heavy burden of responsibility on healthcare providers to make decisions on adolescents' maturity and informed consent, leaving nothing to guide these decisions. Without clear standards, the choice will be made from clinic to clinic, leaving room for inconsistency, injustice, and confusion. In addition to this, the bill fails to specify what preventative measures will be taken. This uncertainty invites misinterpretation. To combat this, a well-revised list of medical services must be provided by medical professionals. Another issue is confidentiality. While confidentiality is to be respected, it must not outweigh a healthcare provider's duty to protect an at-risk youth. Where abuse or illness may be present, this bill must clearly require the healthcare professional to act both legally and quickly. To ask them to solve issues that are so delicate without proper training can expose both them and our adolescents to danger. In short, I believe in what this bill aims to do, but not in the way it aims to do it. We can turn this bill from a promising policy into a real bill that protects and serves Belize's children. Thank you.
I recognize the honorable member for Corozal Bay.
A pleasant good morning, Madam Speaker, fellow parliamentarians, and to all Belizeans. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, why is it that young people in Belize are still struggling to access basic health care? The Ministry of Health and Wellness 2024 profile depicts that 1 in 4 teens never gets a routine checkup, and many skip mental health and reproductive care because they need a parent's consent. In 2023, the adolescent birth rate in Belize was 44 per 1,000 females aged 15 to 19. This is significantly higher than the Latin American and Caribbean regional average of 51 per 1,000 females. The rate is considered one of the highest in the Caribbean and is especially alarming in the rural, southern, and northern areas. According to the Information Center on HPV and Cancer, every year 34 women are diagnosed with cervical cancer and 24 die from disease. This is a direct result of our young, vulnerable youth having poor access to health care such as HPV vaccines, contraception, and proper, safe, and trustworthy health information. This bill changes that. It gives adolescents aged 14 and older the right to preventative health care on their own, removing all stigma and fear, ensuring confidentiality. I speak on behalf of my Corozal youths and all youths in Belize when I say this bill is long overdue. The goal, Madam Speaker, is simple: to protect the youths, detect health problems early, and to give them the right to remain healthy and well-informed. The National Commissions for Families and Children drafted this bill to close the gap between the age and the real access to health care. Ergo, we must admit there is a contradiction. The legal age of sexual consent in Belize is currently 16, yet this bill offers 14-year-olds and older contraceptives and reproductive information. Some may see this as a contradiction. However, this bill does not promote early sex. It promotes safety and prevention. It ensures that youths who are already at risk can get help instead of being left in danger. PAHO's 2024 report found that where similar laws exist, teenage pregnancy fell by nearly 30%. This is real progress. When we have a generation that is educated and making sound decisions for family planning and health, our Belize grows economically and healthier. So let us move forward, Madam Speaker. Let us protect our adolescents. Not later, but now. Let us provide our youth with trust in the health system and build a better future for all. Thank you.
I recognize honorable member for Cayo Central.
Good day, Madam Speaker and honorable guests. Madam Speaker, may I request to use my notes?
Proceed.
Madam Speaker and honorable members to the House, I rise on behalf of the opposition and the people of Kaya Central to share my views on the bill to grant adolescents aged 14 and older independent access to preventative health services. First, I acknowledge the good intention of this bill. It aims to keep our young people safe by giving them access to checkups, counseling, and access to information that can prevent serious health issues. This is an important step to protecting our youth and their mental well-being. Although, however, even if I acknowledge the contention, there are a few concerns and recommendations I have to this bill to make it stronger. Firstly, the age of 14 may be too young for the age of fully independent consent. Not all adolescents can fully understand the long-term impact of certain health choices. Healthcare providers should encourage youth to involve a trusted adult, but as well as me suggesting a tiered approach, allowing access to basic services at 14, but requiring extra professional guidance for situations like sexual or mental health. Secondly, while I respect the need for privacy, parents and guardians should not be completely left out. They play a big role in supporting and guiding their children into the decisions they make and in the way they grow up. The healthcare providers, again, should encourage the youth to involve trusted adults while still respecting their confidentiality. Thirdly, for this bill to work, healthcare providers must be properly trained. They need to know how to access maturity, maintain privacy, and handle sensitive conversations with care. I remind you again that we're dealing with kids that are not fully developed. Finally, Belize truly means. Madam Speaker, I reaffirm that the opposition stands ready to collaborate constructively so that we can refine this bill for the betterment of our country, our children, our communities, and our relationships. Thank you.
I recognize the Honorable Member for Belize Rural Central.
Good day, Madam Speaker and honorable members of this House. Madam Speaker, permission to refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I rise today as a proud representative of Belize Rural Central to express my strong support for the bill to grant adolescents independent access to preventative health services. To begin, the reality is that in Belize, too many young people are often turned away from clinics simply because they come alone. They want help, but our system says, come back with an adult. Not because anyone wants to deny them care, but because our health rules were written for another time. A time when families lived closer and healthcare was easier to reach. Furthermore, in many of our communities, parents work miles away or guardians aren't always around. So when a young person decides to visit a clinic for help, maybe for a mental health check, a vaccination, or just advice, they are often told to return with an adult. And by the time they do so, the damage might already be done. This bill changes that. It gives adolescents aged 14 and up the right to confidential preventative care, such as mental health checks, nutrition advice, and vaccinations like HPV, tetanus, and flu that help protect their future. In addition, other countries, such as Grenada, have already taken steps to expand access for minors. But Belize can and should go further. We still face one of the highest adolescent birth rates in the region. 55 births for every 1,000 girls aged 15 to 19. Early and confidential care can help prevent these challenges and even save lives. At present, Belize spends around 11 to 12% of its national budget on health, much of it treating illnesses that could have been prevented through early intervention. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, I believe this bill represents Belize choosing trust over fear and progress over silence. It sends a clear message to our young people that your voice matters, your health matters, and your country believes in you. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Kaya West.
Greetings, Madam Speaker, honorable members of the Parliament, and everyone watching. Madam Speaker, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I proudly rise today in representation of the people of Kaya West. My fellow colleagues have given you reasons as to why this bill is important and essential for our nation. However, today I come with a humble suggestion. I believe as we move forward with this bill, we must take a serious look at the treatment that our healthcare services are providing. Let's be real. Which adolescent child wants to go to the hospital after hearing all these stories of mistreatment, of patients being ignored, and of hospitals lacking even the most basic equipment to care for them? How do we expect our parents to feel at ease knowing that their children will enter a system that has already failed so many? On October 25th, 2025, an elderly man lost his life while waiting for medical attention at the Northern Regional Hospital. This heartbreaking tragedy forces us to ask, if our elders can be left behind, how do we expect our youths to be taken care for any better? This is why I urge the government to conduct a full screening of the entire healthcare sector to examine how services operate, how patients are being treated, and how we can ensure quality care for every Belizean, especially our youth. Madam Speaker, I want to make it clear that I fully support this bill. My only plea is that as we move forward, we take the necessary steps needed to strengthen and restore the trust in our healthcare system. And as we work together towards this goal, may God guide our leaders with wisdom and bless our nation with hope and healing. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Corozal Southeast.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and honorable members. Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, I stand before you today to say that adolescents are one of the most underserved groups in Belize's healthcare system. Representing 22% of the population, their needs should be a priority, yet they are often ignored. Key health concerns in Belize include sexual and reproductive health, physical well-being, and mental health support, all areas requiring urgent attention. Data from the Belize Health Information System shows that between 2014 and 2016, the attempted suicide rate among adolescents aged 15 to 19 rose by 39% annually, nearly tripling by 2017 compared to 2014. This age group now has the highest rates of attempted suicide in the country, underscoring the critical need for accessible, youth-friendly counseling and support. Sexual and reproductive health is equally concerning. A new 7th survey from 2014 revealed that in Corozal Southeast, the average age for first sexual encounters is 16. Adolescents across Belize face significant challenges to their sexual and reproductive health, especially those in remote or underserved areas. The country has seen rising adolescent birth rates, the highest HIV incidence in Latin America, and high sexual activity rates among out-of-school youth. These issues highlight the urgent need for preventive and responsive health care for Belize's youths. Adolescents deserve safe, confidential, and non-judgmental services to manage their health without barriers like waiting for parental consent. It is time for Belize to take action and ensure all adolescents get the care they deserve and they need. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize Honorable Member for Port Loyola.
Madam Speakers and members of the Assembly, good morning. Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I rise today to respectfully oppose the bill that seeks to grant adolescents aged 14 and older independent access to preventative health services without parental consent. I recognize the bill's intent to safeguard the well-being of Belize's youth and address gaps in adolescent health care. I share that concern deeply. However, while the approach is noble, it may unintentionally weaken family relationships and overlook the realities of access in communities. While supporters may argue that independent access empowers adolescents, we must also ask, could it encourage behaviors that are not fully responsible or mature? If young people know they can get access to these contraceptives or services, then some might take it as a permission to experiment rather than as a reminder to make responsible choices. What's meant to protect them could unintentionally encourage risky behavior instead of promoting guidance and self-control. Broad access could shift the focus from teaching responsibility and self-control to promoting independence without accountability, potentially undermining the role of parents, mentors, and the community in guiding youth. According to the Statistical Institute of Belize's 2022 abstract, the Belize district had over 108,000 outpatient visits, showing high service demand but limited capacity. And right now, the Port Loyola Polyclinic remains closed due to mold contamination, meaning people in my constituency must travel further for care. And that's where policy attention is most urgently needed. If we accept that adolescents should have independent access in some certain cases, then the law must be narrower. It should target vulnerable youths who lack supportive care from their parents or guardians, not apply broadly to all. Madam Speaker, let us strengthen families, not replace them. Youth access should mean safe, informed, and supported care, not independence without guidance. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Caribbean Shores.
Good day, Madam Speaker, honorable members, members of the media, and invited guests. This bill granting adolescents as young as age 14 and older the independent and preventive health service is a vital step towards a fairer and healthier future. Recent studies reveal there has been a troubling rise in suicidal deaths, from 6.99 to 11.38 deaths and percentages per 100,000 people. Some of the highest rates and percentages from young adolescents, some as young as 15. Data shows that female adolescents attempt suicide way more often, whereas male adolescents die at a significant rate compared to females. This suggests and highlights the need for gender-sensitive mental health support as well as early prevention. Madam Speaker, I am sure there are mentally distressed teens all over the country who just want an attentive ear to listen to them and a reassuring voice from an adult who sees that child's true potential. Some may worry that this bill does limit parental involvement, but it in fact doesn't. It complements it by supporting the youth who do not have a supportive background, home, or origin. In conclusion, this bill recognizes the fact that early prevention saves lives, confidentiality builds trust, and the fact that we as a country together can give Belizean adolescents the opportunity to seek help, the chance to heal, and most importantly, the hope, the bare hope to live another day. Thank you.
I recognize Honorable Member for Cayo North.
Madam Speaker, honorable members of the House, and invited guests, good day. Madam Speaker, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I stand here as representative for Cayo North, but as an advocate for the young people of our nation. As leaders, we share a duty to protect the health and well-being of every citizen, especially our adolescents. The Preventative Health Care Bill before us seeks to empower youths aged 14 and above to access preventative health care services such as medical advice, counseling, and vaccinations without needing parental consent. The goal is clear: to give young people the chance to make informed and crucial decisions about their health. Presently, many adolescents are denied this opportunity because they must first get permission from their parents, who might not always agree or disagree, leaving too many youths uninformed and dangerously unprotected. Change is overdue. Opposing beliefs say that this bill gives too much freedom to children. That is not true. This measure provides guidance, not recklessness. Services will remain confidential and professionally managed, with safeguards in place if a child's safety is jeopardized. We can stand on authority, but we must stand on humility. Belize continues to face alarming rates of teenage pregnancy and infections such as HIV and syphilis. These are preventable tragedies if only our youth had better access to education and preventative care. UNICEF's Adolescent Health and National Strategic Plan 2019 to 2030 has shown that early health access has reduced risk and built stronger future and more informed generations. Madam Speaker, this bill is not about taking away parental authority. It's about giving adolescents a voice, a chance to protect themselves. Change must begin with us. Let us act now to create a healthier, more responsible generation. Our youths deserve it, and Belize's future depends on it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize Honorable Member for Orange Walk East.
Madam Speaker, the debate on the Adolescent Preventive Health Protection Bill 2025 has now concluded. I want to thank members on both sides of the House for their interventions, whether in support, in raising concerns, or in offering recommendations. Your contributions have strengthened the discussion on the parliamentary record. This bill puts important protections in place for our adolescents by guaranteeing access to preventive health services, reinforcing confidentiality, and establishing clear standards for informed consent and adolescent-friendly care. These protections are essential because they ensure adolescents can seek timely, safe, and confidential care without unnecessary barriers, supporting better health outcomes for our young people. As we move to the next stage, I continue to respectfully encourage the support of this honorable House.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to establish the rights of adolescents to independently access preventive health services and information to provide for informed consent and the protection of confidentiality when accessing preventive health services to require health practitioners consider the Fraser guidelines when assessing adolescent competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in health facilities, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Be read a second time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I guess the ayes have it.
Bill for an Act to establish the right of adolescents to independently access preventive health services and information, to provide for informed consent and the protection of confidentiality when accessing preventive health services, to require health practitioners to consider the Fraser guidelines when assessing adolescent competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in health facilities, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Committee of the Whole House on Bill.
Honorable members, the House will now resolve into a committee of the whole House to consider the bill that was read a second time. I would like to ask the media and our esteemed guests to kindly leave during this portion of the sitting. I recognize Honorable Minister of Health and Wellness.
Madam Speaker, I rise to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered Adolescent Preventive Health Protection Bill 2025 and passed it without amendment. I now move the third reading of that bill.
Honorable members, the question is that for the bill and act to establish the right of adolescents to independently access preventive health services and preventive health services and information to provide for informed consent and the protection of confidentiality when accessing preventive health services, to require health practitioners to consider the Fraser guidelines when assessing adolescent competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in health facilities, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Be read a third time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I guess the ayes have it.
Bill for an Act to establish the right of adolescents to independently access preventive health services and information, to provide for informed consent and the protection of confidentiality when accessing preventive health services, to require health practitioners to consider the Fraser guidelines when assessing adolescent competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in health facilities, and to provide for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto.
I recognize Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Investment, Economic Transformation, Civil Aviation, and E-Governance.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Honorable members, the question is that the House do now adjourn. All in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. The ayes have it. This House now stands adjourned.
Announcement by President.
Good morning, honorable members. As we begin today's seating, I want to especially welcome all members of Parliament, our esteemed guests who are in this very small public galleries, and to the other invited guests who are in the temporary galleries downstairs. And to all those who are watching at home and abroad, I say good morning and welcome. Today marks the 5th Annual Children's Parliament, so let us take this opportunity to make the time count. The month of November is especially meaningful for various reasons. Firstly, we take this opportunity to honor our veterans, the brave men and women who have served our country with courage and sacrifice. Their example reminds us of the true meaning of service and patriotism. Secondly, on the 20th of November, we celebrate World Children's Day under the theme, My Day, My Rights. This is a time to renew our dedication to protecting and uplifting every child. Let us work together to ensure a safe and hopeful future for all young citizens. Thirdly, on the 25th of November to the 10th of December, we celebrate the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Let us stand together to end all forms of violence and discrimination, and try to promote equality and respect for all citizens. Honorable members, as we carry out our work, may we reflect on these important values: compassion, service, and justice in all that we do. Finally, I want to remind honorable members of Standing Orders number 33, Time and Manner of Speaking, number 35, Interruption, number 36, Content of Speeches, and Standing Order number 40, Rules for Members Not Speaking. If I can borrow a line from Sir John A. Macdonald, the first Prime Minister of Canada, in describing the Senate as a body of sober second thoughts, meaning the Senate ensures that legislation are thoroughly scrutinized and laws are well considered. Let us continue to uphold that tradition. Thank you.
Bill brought from the House of Representatives.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I rise to take charge of the Adolescent Preventive Health Protection Bill 2025. In accordance with Standing Order number 49-1, I move that this bill be taken through all its stages forthwith.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill be taken through all its stages forthwith. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Motions relating to the business or sittings of the Senate.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that it is rising today the Senate adjourn to a date to be fixed by the President.
Honorable members, the question is that it's rising today, the Senate adjourn to a date to be fixed by the President. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Public Business, Government Business, Bill for second reading.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Good morning, Madam President, fellow parliamentarians, and distinguished guests. I rise to move the second reading of a bill for an act to establish the rights of adolescents to independently access preventive health services and information, to provide for informed consent and the protection of confidentiality when accessing preventive health services, to require health practitioners to consider the Fraser guidelines when assessing adolescents' competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in health facilities, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto. Madam President, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
In doing so, I stand in full support of a bill that grants adolescents ages 14 and older the right to access preventive healthcare services independently. This bill is about protecting health, promoting responsibility, and empowering youth to make informed choices about their own well-being. According to the World Health Organization, nearly 1.2 million adolescents die each year, most from causes that are preventable or treatable, such as infections, poor nutrition, and the lack of early health screening. These are not just numbers. They represent young lives that could have been saved if access to care were easier and confidential. In Belize, the Ministry of Health's Adolescent Health Strategic Plan 2019-2030 highlights that many teenagers delay seeking medical help because they fear of being judged or misunderstood. This gap often leads to untreated illnesses, emotional distress, and risky behaviors that could have been prevented with early intervention. This bill ensures that adolescents can receive checkups, counseling, mental health support, and sexual and reproductive health education in a safe, private, and respectful environment. It doesn't take away the role of a parent, it strengthens it by giving young people the confidence to seek help when they need it the most. Madam President, beyond statistics, this bill represents a message of trust and inclusion. Too often, young people are told to wait until they are older to have a voice in their own health decisions. But health cannot wait. Early prevention saves lives, strengthens communities, and reduces the burden on our healthcare system. When adolescents learn to take care of their health from a young age, they grow into adults who are more aware, more responsible, and more engaged citizens. This bill sends a clear signal that our nation values its youths, not as future leaders, but as partners in building a stronger and healthier Belize today. As the late Kofi Annan, former Secretary General of the United Nations, once said, "Knowledge is power, information is liberating, education is the premise of progress." By passing this bill, we give adolescents the knowledge and access they need to make healthy, responsible decisions. We give them power, not to rebel, but to protect their own future. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Ayane Magana.
Before I commence, Madam President, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
A pleasant good day, Madam President, my fellow parliamentarians, and the people of Belize. I want to start by recognizing the good intent behind the bill to grant adolescents aged 14 and older independent access to preventative health service. Its purpose? To empower young people to take charge of their health and remove barriers to care is commendable, and I fully support that intention. However, supporting that goal does not mean ignoring its potential challenges. At age 14, many adolescents are still developing emotionally and mentally. They need proper guidance from parents or guardians when making important medical decisions. Preventative health care, including vaccinations, mental health support, and sexual reproductive health services, involves choices that should be made with understanding and support, not isolation. This bill, as written, risks cutting parents out instead of fostering stronger communication between families and health care providers. Additionally, the clear guidelines could confuse healthcare workers about when to involve parents. We must ensure that protecting a teen's privacy does not come at the cost of their safety or parental awareness. Culturally, we must also remember that many Belizean families' health decisions are made together. Therefore, excluding parents might unintentionally create mistrust and discourage some families from seeking care altogether. So, instead of rejecting this bill, I propose refining it. Firstly, allowing confidential conversation between teens and health providers, but include parents in the follow-up care if necessary. Provide education to help adolescents understand their rights and responsibilities. Establish clear protocols for when parents must be informed, especially in serious situations. In conclusion, this bill carries a noble goal but needs a better balance between independence and family support. Let us aim to empower teens while keeping parents involved, ensuring that we protect, educate, and strengthen our youth and families together. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Adir Castillo.
Greetings, Madam President and honorable members of the Senate. Madam President, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
I rise today as a senator representing the Council of Churches and the Evangelical Association of Churches, a body deeply committed to the moral and spiritual well-being of our nation. Today, we gather to debate a bill which seeks to allow teenagers access to preventive health care without parental consent. I understand the compassion behind this initiative, the desire to ensure that no young person is denied care out of fear or shame. Indeed, the Church too stands for compassion, protection, and help. However, compassion without structure can lead to confusion, and freedom without guidance can become harmful. To remove parents from these decisions is not empowerment, it is isolation. It risks driving a wedge between parent and child, where secrecy replaces trust and independence replaces guidance. In such moments of confusion, when a teenager faces sensitive health issues, they are vulnerable not only to poor decisions but also to external influences and perpetrators who may exploit that vulnerability. Parents are not obstacles to their children's growth. They are the God-given protectors and guides of their children's heart and choices. For more than a decade, evangelical and Catholic leaders have stood united on issues concerning the sanctity of family, the moral formation of youth, and the preservation of parental responsibility. This unity is not born of convenience, but of conviction that faith and family must remain inseparable pillars of our society. Our very own Constitution affirms this truth. The preamble of the Belize Constitution declares that our nation was built of principles which include the position of the family in the society. Section 14 further protects the right to privacy, ensuring that family life is safeguarded from any unnecessary hindrance. Moreover, Belize is a party to the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, which identifies the family as the natural and fundamental group unit of the society. These principles are not abstract ideals. They are the living standards by which we must measure our laws. Now, this bill, though well-intentioned, interferes with family life, and we cannot risk undermining the institution that our Constitution defines as the basis of our nation. Madam President, as faith leaders, we are not against health care or education. We are for it being delivered in wisdom, moral clarity, and active parental involvement. Instead of removing the family, let us strengthen it. Let us invest in youth counseling programs, faith-based mentorship, and educational initiatives that promote honest communication between parent and their child. Madam President, honorable members, if we remove the parents, we weaken the family, and when the family falls, the nation trembles. Therefore, I humbly urge this honorable body to reconsider this bill and to protect the sacred partnership between parent, child, and the nation. Thank you, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Lasagna Call.
Good afternoon, Madam President, honorable members of the National Assembly, and to my fellow young people of Belize. Madam President, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
As your youth senator, I rise with pride and determination to strongly support the bill to grant adolescent age 14 and above preventative health care services. This bill is not merely a suggestion, it is a necessity. Across Belize, too many young people face health challenges that could have been prevented with early care. Every day, teenagers, they silently struggle with issues like depression, anxiety, or questions regarding their body. Yet many of them never reach out for help because they fear of being judged or punished. For example, in 2023, the Ministry of Health and Wellness reported a rise in mental health cases among young people, with many of them visiting clinics for stress and anxiety-related issues. But guess what? Many of these students, young people, never arrived to these clinics for the checkups that they need because they thought that they needed parental permission or because they were too afraid or embarrassed to ask. That amount of silence is very dangerous. We have seen young people, young lives being lost to preventable problems, all because help came too late. Preventative healthcare is not about encouraging risky behaviors. It's about giving young people the tools that they need to protect themselves. It ensures getting early checkups, counseling, and guidance to stop small issues from becoming lifelong struggles. When we deny adolescents these services, we're not protecting them, we're putting them at risk. This bill builds a bridge between the youth and the health system, a bridge that is made of privacy, respect, and trust.
It ensures that young people can talk to a trained professional about their mental health issues while still involving family when it's safe and supportive. It also teaches responsibility because when young people are trusted, they often rise to the occasion. Now, some may say that 14 is too young to take responsibility, but let's look at the major reality. Many of our 14-year-olds are already making major life decisions. They care for younger siblings, they manage school stress, and they even work to provide for their family. If we trust young people with these responsibilities, why not trust them to care for their own health? Now, this bill is not without safeguard. It includes maturity assessment, confidentiality limits, and professional guidance. So protection is always the major priority. Similar systems in other Caribbean countries, for example, Jamaica and Barbados, have already shown success in reducing teen pregnancy and improving mental health outcomes. If other Caribbean countries can, Belize should and can follow that lead. Passing this bill means saving life. It means giving hope to the girl who is afraid to ask about her body, to the boy who is embarrassed to talk about his mental health, or to the student who simply wants to stay healthy and focused in school. Let us not delay this compassion. Let us not delay protection. Instead, let us pass this bill for our future, for our nation, and for our young people of Belize. Thank you, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Bernice Richardson.
Good morning, Madam President, honorable parliamentarians, and invited guests. The bill addresses a vital policy gap in our society's adolescent limited access to preventive health care. The question of maturity among those aged 14 and above is often met with restrictive parental consent barriers, which prevent them from accessing essential service needed. I firmly support this bill as it promotes adolescent empowerment, protection, and long-term well-being. Key provision of this bill reflects values of responsibility, accountability, encouragement of mental health and wellness while supporting preventive healthcare practices and safeguarding adolescents' confidentiality. The seriousness of this situation has been revealed through statistics, as 1 in 5 girls in Belize under age 15 is either married or in union. Now, this reality led to an increase in teenage pregnancy, as in 2023 alone, girls aged 10 to 19 accounted for 22.8 births per 1,000 births, with rates in rural regions nearly double those in urban areas. Now, the real question that needs to be asked: if young girls under age 15 is either married or have given birth, why shouldn't adolescents be able to independently access health care? It was never just about the numbers. It's about the lives behind them, the health risks, and the futures disrupted because of them. By passing this bill, young people gain the access to seek health care in a manner which is more comfortable and respectful of their privacy. This autonomy is essential as it removes barriers which can make adolescents more hesitant to seek the help they need. With an increase in comfort and privacy, adolescents is more likely to pursue preventive health care. By accessing these, adolescents will see a more help in their outcome of health. Furthermore, this bill provision will be seen in the future of adolescents by creating stronger adolescents in Belize. As this bill is a call to action for our society, a step towards empowering the young adolescents of Belize and improving our healthcare system. Madam President, supporting this bill, we invest not only in better health, but also the future of our nation, Belize. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Nathaniel Rodriguez.
Before I commence, Madam President, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Madam President, honorable members of this youth parliament, good morning. I rise today in response to the bill to grant adolescents aged 14 and older independent access to preventative health care services. Let me begin by acknowledging the intent behind this bill: Promoting the health and well-being of young people in Belize is unquestionably important. Every adolescent deserves access to accurate health information and preventative care. For that, I commend the efforts of my colleagues who brought this proposal forward. However, while I support the objective, I must express serious concerns regarding the bill's provisions. The first concern relates to the minimum age of independent consent set at only 14. Adolescents at this age may not yet have the maturity or understandings required to make parents almost entirely, except in very narrow circumstances. While privacy is important, excluding parents completely could unintentionally lead to the loss of support and guidance for young people in Belize, especially in high-risk situations. According to UNICEF Caribbean reports, adolescents who maintain a strong communication with their parents are significantly less likely to engage in high-risk behaviors, showing that family involvement remains a crucial factor for young people across this region. My recommendations would be that the maturity assessment framework be more specific and standardized to ensure adolescents are fairly evaluated and effectively. Additionally, the bill should include clear guidance for parental involvement. In ways that respect both adolescents' autonomy and their family support. For example, involving parents with adolescents' consent wherever possible, or requiring follow-up counseling could strengthen outcomes and reduce risk. In conclusion, I urge my colleagues to consider these recommendations, for only by doing so we can create legislation that genuinely safeguards our youth while promoting responsible and informed decision-making. Let us work together to refine this bill so that it both protects adolescents' health and ensures that their decisions are informed, supported, and safe. I stand committed to the adolescents' health, but I cannot support this bill in its current form because it grants adolescents significant independence without ensuring the proper guidance and safeguards they need, risking confusion and vulnerability in a place of true care and protection. Thank you, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Rihanna Tucker.
Madam President, before I commence, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Madam President, colleagues, and to the people of Belize, today I rise to speak for the health and future of our adolescents. Imagine a 15-year-old girl who notices unusual symptoms but is unable to see a doctor due to the lack of parental consent. Or a 16-year-old boy struggling with anxiety but is unable to seek counseling privately. These aren't rare stories. These stories are happening across Belize. And the Adolescent Preventive Health Protection Bill changes that. It grants adolescents aged 14 and older the right to access preventive health services independently, ensuring that they get care when they need it the most. We know preventive health works. Pediatric experts and global health organizations have noted that when adolescents are able to confidently consent, vaccination rates, mental health services, and screenings increase by up to 30%. In countries with similar laws, we've seen fewer teen pregnancies and lower rates of untreated STIs. Early intervention doesn't just save lives. It reduces long-term health costs and strengthens public health systems. At 14, adolescents are capable of understanding their own health needs. As one Belizean teen put it, I just want to know if I can go to the doctor without fear. The Adolescent Preventive Health Protection Bill respects that right. It protects privacy and empowers decision-making. The United Nations Population Fund reminds us that access to health services is a right, it's not a privilege. And Belize has already committed to adolescent health through our National Strategic Plan. This legislation that we are here for today is to put this promise into law. It's also responsible. Healthcare providers will assess maturity, explain risk and benefits, and maintain strict privacy. Exceptions exist only to prevent imminent harm and to comply with legal duties. This bill empowers adolescents without compromising safety. Madam President, to the people of Belize, supporting the Adolescent Preventive Health Protection Bill means investing in a healthy, informed, and resilient youth. Let us ensure adolescents don't hesitate to seek care out of fear or legal barriers. No adolescent should ever have to choose between fear and their health. Healthy adolescents today means a stronger, healthier, and more resilient Belize tomorrow. I urge all my colleagues to vote in favor of this legislation. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Alonzo Martinez.
Good day, Madam President and honorable members of the Senate. Madam President, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
It is an honor to stand before you today in full support of this bill that defines a remarking step in how we treat and value our young people. Granting adolescents aged 14 and older independent access to preventive healthcare services is not merely symbolic, it addresses real gaps in our health systems that puts our youth at risk. For far too long, many of our young people have been trapped between what the law allows and what reality demands from them. They are mature enough to understand responsibility, yet are often denied the right to protect their own health. Granting access to services such as vaccinations, checkups, and importantly, mental health counseling can mean a difference between early help and lifelong harm. According to our recent national data reviewed by UNICEF and the National Health Information System, attempted suicides remain the most common among adolescents aged 15 to 19. While attempted suicide rates have fluctuated over the last 5 years, the suicide mortality rate has only risen steadily from 6.99 per 100,000 people in 2019 to 11.39 per 100,000 people in 2023. These findings make one truth impossible to ignore, that timely, confidential access to healthcare is essential if we hope to prevent tragedies among our youth. This bill is not about undermining parental roles. It's about protecting lives and promoting responsibility. By allowing adolescents to make informed decisions about their own health, we empower them and make the legal frameworks for healthcare providers to make the best decisions for them without hesitation. By taking action now, we reduce preventable harm and build a healthier, stronger generation for the future of our nation. Madam President, challenges will arise, but they are the reason to refine and not to delay. Let us act decisively to protect our youth and ensure that every adolescent in Belize has access to healthcare that they need with respect, dignity, and understanding. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Jamila Usher.
Good day, Madam President and esteemed members of the Senate. Madam President, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Today I rise, not just to grant adolescents ages 14 and up independent access to preventative health services, but to also provide you with information as to why this legislation deserves your full support. Madam President, at the age of 14, a child's brain is still developing. However, at that same age, children are continuously obligated to make major life decisions that can affect their present and future. These decisions are an integral part of a child's life, and they vary from something like making meaningful friendships that can influence their personality and identity, to choosing a career path that they could have for the rest of their lives. If children at this age or even younger are trusted to make these judgments, don't you think it would only be fair for them to also make decisions about their health? The Statistical Institute of Belize includes 14-year-olds in their household budget surveys, which may implicitly acknowledge that many young people aged 14 and older already contribute to household spending. If adolescents are trusted to participate in financial decision-making, they should also be empowered to take great responsibility for their own well-being. Madam President, as a person in the business sector, an economic toll is taken upon our Belizean community members. There is not a day that goes by that someone in Belize is not spending money on fundraisers. Many preventative illnesses have highly effective treatments, but are very costly. These treatments can run from thousands to hundreds of thousands a year. Many families do not have that type of money, so the teens then have no other choice but to lay there and wait for the day that they perish from these chronic conditions. Madam President, bringing this bill to action is important because if we do not allow for this bill to take place, medical costs will continue to rise, the rates of illnesses will never decrease, and most importantly, the health of our Belizean children will continue to be compromised. Therefore, Madam President, these insights given are exemplary as to how so-called grown-up decisions are being made by adolescents, not just in the past, but every single day. These are a few of many reasons as to why you should support this bill. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Aliyah Chavarria.
Madam President, before I commence, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Good day, Madam President. Have you ever imagined how tragic it would be for an adolescent in agony to be denied medical services because a parent isn't there to sign a form? Many Caribbean countries, including Belize, are trapped between outdated legal traditions and the reality of modern life. This creates a barrier that forces young people to stray away from seeking essential help. As a result, adolescents are prone to teenage pregnancies, STDs, STIs, and other health risks. This is exactly why our adolescents should have the right to access preventive health services like checkups, reproductive advice, and emergency health care services without parental consent. Health preventive examinations are important for early detection of illness. Right now, in Belize, you can get checkups to the free public healthcare system, NHI, that offers various packages. However, unless an adolescent is accompanied by a parent, they are denied elaborate procedure. Adolescents can legally be employed at the age of 14, yet when seeking specialized services, they are turned away. These practices deny adolescents confidential health services and contradict the preamble's guarantee of equal protection and access to health. Lastly, we cannot control life's unexpected turns. However, we can diminish the impact of tragedies from occurring. For this reason, it is imperative we consider the fact that if a child is in critical conditions, he or she should be immediately admitted and given proper medical assistance without parental consent. When a teenager gets to the hospital, a parent must be present in order for the doctor to examine them. This is inadequate and a total waste of time since the child's life is at risk. Our children are at risk if we continue to follow present laws and criteria for consultation and hospitalization. In conclusion, let us not be silent, but let us advocate and give our youths the right to access preventive health services without parental consent. As Malala Yousafzai rightly stated, and I quote, "When the world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful." Our future adolescents need to know that they too can get checkups, reproductive advice, and emergency health care without parental consent. Making the right choice will definitely benefit our community today. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Daryl Cano.
Greetings, Madam President, honorable senators, and fellow Belizeans. Madam President, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
Today I rise on behalf of the non-governmental organizations of Belize in support of the bill before us, which is designed to grant adolescents aged 14 and older independent access to preventative health service. Madam President, honorable senators, and fellow Belizeans, too many of us grew up in a time where children were told to be seen and not heard. Those days are long gone. The youth of Belize are not only present, today they are making their presence felt. And let my voice echo in these hallowed chambers. This move is long overdue. The supreme law of the law, our Constitution, requires policies of this state to protect and safeguard every Belizean's right to basic health. No one should be denied care because of fear, stigma, or family circumstance. Health workers, educators, parents, and NGOs see daily how barriers to services affect our youth. Madam President, our youth is at risk. This legislative step is therefore a critical one, and one that we commend, because it is an effort to empower our adolescents with the right to seek timely, confidential, and preventative care. NGOs have always championed informed decision-making. This does not mean isolating our youth from family support, but ensuring that they receive unbiased, comprehensive information so that they can make the best decisions possible. This bill pairs access with education, counseling, and trust building. Current efforts to support adolescent health exist, but services remain fragmented. This bill gives us hope that healthcare will be coordinated, that providers will be trained in adolescent-friendly, confidential, and culturally sensitive care, that public awareness campaigns will help families understand the intent of this law, and that partnership with civil society will strengthen counseling and community outreach. On a personal note, Madam President, it is heartbreaking to reconcile how many young Belizeans, scared and desperate, have sought out informal care, leading to tragic consequences. One life lost is too many. This bill is not a rejection of family involvement, but an opportunity to strengthen how we support both families and youths. When communication fails, the system must still protect, not punish. The NGO supports this bill because it affirms the right to every young Belizean to health and dignity. If we do this wisely, we will build a generation that is healthier, more informed, and overall better equipped to lead Belize's future. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Jocelyn Campos.
Greetings, Madam President, esteemed colleagues. Madam President, may I please refer to my notes?
Proceed.
As we speak, diseases spread, mental crises escalate, and lives are risked. Not because of limited resources to aid, but because we place bureaucratic barriers before our youth and their much needed care. The complex question, should youths have access to preventive health care without parental consent, has forever plagued us due to the fear of parental stigma and judgment. Therefore, it is undeniably crucial to support this bill to give our youths the empowerment for future preventive care. Madam President, according to PANCAP, there is an estimated 3,500 individuals aged 15 years and above living with AIDS in Belize. A report on the trends in suicides done by UNICEF Belize states that attempted suicides were most prevalent among adolescents aged 15 to 19 years old. Statistics don't lie. Many of these incidents are related to the fear of parental stigma. This isn't about undermining families. It's about meeting our youth where they are. Parental rights remain intact for non-preventive health care. This bill removes one barrier, just one, that currently stands between our vulnerable youth and life-saving healthcare. In an ideal world, children would have supportive parents. But we don't legislate for ideal worlds. We legislate for the real one. The real one includes judgmental, abusive, and neglectful parents who put their beliefs before their child's welfare. So I ask you, Madam President, does our youth's preventive health care really depend on parental authorization? Or do we believe that all adolescents deserve to protect their health and future? Preventive health care, as defined by the Centers for Medicare, is the preemption of diseases or any other health-related concerns. This includes annual checkups, vaccinations, STI testing and treatments, and reproductive health education. Access to these services benefits their future. Remember, today's youth is tomorrow's future. How can our nation prosper if tomorrow's future cannot access the medical attention needed to prevent such tragedies? So I urge you today, Madam President, to think about our youths, our country's future. Now is the time to work together to implement the access of preventive health care without parental consent. Thank you, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Leilani Tun.
Madam President and esteemed colleagues, before we begin, Madam President, may I refer to my notes?
Proceed.
The proposal to grant adolescents aged 14 and older independent access to preventive health services is well intended. Its objective is to provide health education, mental health screening, and sexual health services. However, before implementing the proposed bill, I ask you to consider 3 factors. Number 1, the maturity of children. Number 2, the potential risks of confidentiality. And number 3, the promotion of potentially risky behavior. Point 1, the rational and emotional development of our youth may vary, and their choices will have long-lasting consequences. Many 14-year-olds will not fully grasp the implications of their healthcare decisions. Fellow senators, if out of concern for the well-being of our youth, we raise the legal age of consent to 16 and the legal age of marriage to 18, then are we not contradicting ourselves by allowing 14-year-olds to get Plan B pills? The second point, confidentiality robs parents and guardians from information access. If families, the backbone of society, will offer support and guidance to our youth, sharing information with a trusted adult is necessary. Keeping the bill in its current form means that healthcare providers will be forced to make decisions that will not always benefit our youth. Point 3. The bill unintentionally encourages risky behavior. This could lead to even higher rates of unintended pregnancies, infections, and other health issues, ultimately counteracting the bill's proposed goal of promoting adolescent health. Senators, at what age is a person considered an adult capable of voting, getting married, consuming alcohol? At what age can a child engage in sexual activity? Why are we setting different ages for decisions that have a huge impact on a person's life? I strongly recommend a more balanced approach that includes raising the age required, offering comprehensive education for adolescents, and creating the support systems necessary to safeguard the health and well-being of our youth. In conclusion, while the intent of the proposed bill is commendable, the potential risks and associated challenges of this legislation cannot be overlooked. Adolescent maturity, potential risks, and increased confidentiality requires its reevaluation before the bill is passed. Thank you.
I I recognize the leader of business, government business.
Madam President, I rise to thank all senators for their contribution to this bill. I ask that the question be put.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill for an act to establish the right of adolescents to independently access preventative health services and information, to provide for informed consent and the protection of confidentiality when assessing preventative health services, to require health practitioners to consider the Fraser Guidelines when assessing adolescent competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in health facilities, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto, to be read a second time. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Bill for an act to establish the right of adolescents to independently access preventative health services and information, to provide for informed consent and the protection of confidentiality when accessing preventative health services, to require health practitioners to consider the Fraser Guidelines when assessing adolescents' competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in the health facilities, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto. Committee of the Whole Senate on Bail.
Honorable members, in accordance with Standing Order 54, the Senate will now resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole Senate to consider the bill that was read a second time. I would like to ask the visitors in the gallery to kindly leave during this portion of the meeting. You may, of course, return.
Is reporting and third reading of bill.
I recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, I rise to report that the Committee of the Whole Senate has considered the Adolescent Preventive Health Protection Bill 2025 and passed it without amendment. I move now that the bill be read a third time.
Honorable members, the question is that the bill to be established the right of adolescents to independently access preventative health services and information, to provide informed consent and the protection of confidentiality when assessing preventative health services, to require health practitioners to consider the Fraser Guidelines when assessing adolescent competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in health facilities, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto, to be read a third time. All those in favor, kindly say aye. All those against, kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Bill for an act to establish the right of adolescents to independently access preventative health services and information, to provide for informed consent and the protection of confidentiality when accessing preventative health services, to require health practitioners to consider the Fraser Guidelines when assessing adolescents' competence, to require adolescent-friendly standards in health facilities, and to provide for matters connected therewith and incidental thereto. Adjournment.
I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that the Senate now be adjourned.
Honorable members, the question is that the Senate do now adjourn. All those in favor, kindly say aye. All those against, kindly say no. I think the ayes have it. The Senate now stands adjourned.